I was mad that the education on this website was better than anything in my master's degree, my doctoral degree, or any other place that I tried to learn. And I was quite frankly, I was pissed, but then I moved past that within a day or two. And I was like, all right, just start consuming it. Like, this is great. Like, learn these things. Alex Natera runs specific ISO, Stephen Jones, motor learning, like just great real education from real coaches doing the thing. And Kier was able to create all this information and get it from all these coaches and build what he built.
What's going on, Samson Strength Coach Collective listeners? On today's episode, we have a very special guest. He asked me to refer to him just as Justin. So Justin, thank you so much for coming on. And he is owner of Strength Coach Network. Man, I'm very excited for this episode because I've been following your content for a long time. Strength Coach Network has been something that's been around since I came into strength and conditioning, and it's a very valuable resource. And I think you're a funny guy. So I'm excited to spend some time with you.
Thanks, Connor. Appreciate you again, Costa. Shout out to you, Costa, connecting us, brother.
Yeah, exactly. Costa. And the amount of connections I've gotten from Costa is actually out of control. Like, I get emails almost every day, and I've got a phone call with him later today. So I'm sure he's going to have 5 more guys for me to connect with soon. He's a great guy.
He really is. Like, and shout out to him because I feel like there needs, I said this to him and I'll say it publicly, but like, there needs to be more people in strength and conditioning, but I also said just in life that are willing to like hustle and work hard regardless. Cause that was something that we talked about with the kids at Iowa and that I brought with me to Towson and now continue to say is like, if you're going to be a plumber, electrician, whatever you're going to be, it's going to require time and effort to be great. And like, there's just not enough people that are hungry and willing enough to go and do the thing. And like, it's just such a relief to see. He's younger than me, but for Costa, like a young guy like that, just willing to work and go and do, like, it's refreshing to see.
Well, he's a grinder. And an interesting point that you bring up that makes me think about it is, I remember in these emails where he's connecting me to other guests that we've had on the podcast, you know, he sends a message and it's a very great detailed description or whatever, right? And I just kind of assumed that it'd be more of a copy and paste situation, you know, where it's like, all right, let me send these emails out quickly. No, every single one is personalized, detailed, and like beautifully crafted. And so I agree. It's very nice to see somebody who not only works hard, but also is taking the time to personalize things. And even if the other person wouldn't know, because I'm the one who's seeing all these emails back to back to back. And then you've got no clue what he said to Alex, who was on the podcast a couple weeks ago, you know, so I appreciate it. And I think it's a great lesson to learn for everybody. And he also, what I love about him is he's willing to connect other people and help other people because he knows that I'm, you know, even at the most selfish level, I'm more willing to help him.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm very excited to dive into this, and I really want to talk about Strength Coach Network first. But can you just give us a background of your career and then what led you to leading Strength Coach Network?
So let's start at the beginning. I got into strength conditioning in 2009 when I was done playing football. My offensive line coach asked me if I would coach the O-line with him because I was an O-line. I was a coach on the field essentially. He owned a gym. He got me bigger, faster, stronger. So like that was when I first learned about strength conditioning. Didn't know that it was a career because I'm from Massachusetts. And up in Massachusetts, nobody cares about college sports. Like it was all about pro. And so like this whole notion of like, remember that was 2005 when I graduated high school. So like lifting weights kind of wasn't like what, like sure, some athletes did it, but it wasn't what happens nowadays. Anyways, I start working with him in 2009, get my master's in 11. Part of my master's, I was at Harvard University. That led me to Iowa in a summer of 12, which led me to College Park in 2012, 2013. Go back to Iowa, work there for 5 years, go from Iowa to Towson as the head guy for 5.5 years. And it was at my time at Towson that I met Kier. And that was through Nick DeMarco at Elon, because Nick and I were friends. We worked together at Iowa. Elon and William and Mary played each other the week before William and Mary played Towson. And so Nick and Eric Korm and Scott Kuhn all got together with Nick, and Nick was like, hey, you know, this is a great conversation. Like you and I know, like these closed door behind meetings, this is where real learning happens. And he's like, you guys got to go connect with Lima next week. So we had breakfast together before that William and Mary game, And then Kier and I just stayed in touch because I had learned about Strength Coach Network from my former assistant, Joe Alexander, who's now the director at Johns Hopkins. He'd be a great guest for you as well. And I just kind of fell in love with the education. I was actually mad. I was mad that the education on this website was better than anything in my master's degree, my doctoral degree, or any other place that I tried to learn. And I was quite frankly, I was pissed. But then I moved past that within a day or two, and I was like, all right, just start consuming it. Like, this is great. Like, learn these things. Alex Natera runs specific ISO, Stephen Jones, motor learning, like just great real education from real coaches doing the thing. And Kier was able to create all this information and get it from all these coaches and build what he built. And so we formed a friendship. I finished my dissertation, and then I started working for Kier, and then it kind of just took off from there.
So you say real education and you say real information. Like, what's you made it different from the work that you saw in your master's or your PhD?
It was actually like, hey, the textbook says hypertrophy is this, strength, you need 3 minutes to 4 minutes rest, when okay, maybe you have 40 minutes to train a group of athletes. Like, you don't have the ability to actually do that. Or, hey, this is the logical constraints of working in this weight room, and you have to do speed and lift together. But how do you actually get that done and keep the qualities where it's supposed to be? And that type of conversation doesn't happen in a classroom.
Yeah, you're right. Like you said, it happens a lot behind closed doors when you meet with other coaches.
Correct. And it's like, oh, sure. Like, yes, you still have to, like, the said principle is the same thing, but like, because universities stay so high level and they don't actually teach anything about, like, okay, well, this is the energy systems of this sport of field hockey or lacrosse or American football or rugby. Well, now Inside Strength Coach Network does a presentation on training field hockey players, and it's brought to you by somebody that's literally won an Olympic medal with a football, with a field hockey team. So it's like, if you want to learn the energy system requirements, what the physical preparation of a field hockey player looks like, you're literally not going to learn that in the classroom.
Yeah, one of my favorite sayings is, you can never trust a skinny chef, right? And so
Right.
you want to work with the people who have done these things and had success.
Yeah. Or the fact of, like, how often are people being taught in a classroom by people that have never actually smelt the air of an elite weight room or being out, on a track and field with some of the fastest people in the world. Yet they're the ones trying to go teach them, when it's like, that's so backwards. Like, you've got these professors professing things, but they've never done the thing, versus these were strength coaches. Like, it was hard to get them to be able to present because, time constraints, and like, all right, hey, you have to do this on your side, which is why we pay for coaches to do their webinars inside of Strength Coach Network, to respect them for their time. But you're going to learn from people that have real strain under the bar. Like, if you want to learn how to get, like, all these social media influencers nowadays, but like, if you wanted to lose weight, you just go find a bodybuilder, because they know how to look great with their, if you want to get strong, you learn from strongmen, right? Like, all these principles. And far too often, 95% of the time, the people teaching these classes in an exercise science, they've never actually worked with elite athletes. And maybe if they did, it was super long ago, and they haven't then trained themselves. It's like, when's the last time you've strained? When's the last time you've been under the bar? Like, it should be a requirement. And I had a conversation with buddy of mine, Christian Brown, down at Kapiolin Community College. And he's like, bro, I have to exercise so that way these guys can buy in. Like, if I don't look a certain way, they're not going to listen to me. So anybody listening to this, you need to be lifting. That's why, like, we put the premium on doing field work too. You need to be out there sprinting, like sprint timber is happening right now. You need to be playing a sport, change direction. Too many strength coaches just live in the weight room, and they live by proliferance chart. And then, like, well, why doesn't this athlete understand that they could do 7 reps at 90%? It's like, bro, they're gassed because they're coming in off the field or they're in season, but you haven't actually put any time under the bar. And like, that's where we come in. Like, sure, there's a gap and it bothers me, but if there wasn't that gap where people weren't learning it, then my company wouldn't exist.
Well, there you go. That's a good gap to have for you personally. Then, I remember one of my favorite professors that I had was actually a strength and conditioning coach at Temple University. So he was Sam Whitney. He was working with a couple different teams in the Olympic side, and then came in and taught a couple classes. And that was the most valuable class to me because, again, it was a technique. It was an Olympic and powerlifting technique class. But he just made things realistic. Like when we talked about power clean technique, or front squats, we talked about ankle mobility as well. Just these small things that wouldn't really pop up unless you had the experience and you saw limitations that athletes typically experience. And the same thing that you said, we're talking about, okay, they're coming from practice, they're coming from field work. That's why I'm a big proponent of going to practice. Personally, I like it because I get to watch basketball. I love watching basketball, so I get to watch it for free. But at the same time, I can understand, okay, if coach was on one today and all of a sudden we went, 60 minutes over what our practice plan was and ran a ridiculous amount of sprints. Obviously, if we have squats planned afterwards, it's going to have to look a little bit different.
Yeah, and like for me, that was Ellen Robinson. So she was one of our teachers, and she was my program advisor. Who, like, shout out to her for actually getting me on the correct path, because I had like my list of, all right, I'm going to do these classes. I want to do my internship at BC football because like BC was the best. It was ACC football in the Northeast, and she's like, you should go to Harvard. She's like, Harvard, the guy there, you're going to get a better experience. You're going to actually be able to learn and do things. And she was right. Like, I was a coach. I was doing the thing because Harvard had 42 different varsity athletes with only 5 strength coaches on staff. So in their 24 rack weight room, they would break it up into like groups of four platforms or maybe groups of 3 platforms, and the coaches are making sure that everybody's staying safe, but then you're in the weeds. You're the one that's coaching things. You're the one that's actually doing it. She's like, you're not going to get to do that at BC. So if it wasn't for her actually advising me and helping me, I would have been in trouble. And I say all that, but she was also a lifter. She had an Olympic weightlifting team there, and she was the one, like, so when she's talking, like you said, cleans, snatch pulls, or just, hey, understanding bodybuilding splits, understanding any of these type of things, she actually had sweat equity and was doing it and could demonstrate it. And to me, and maybe that's a flaw of mine, and maybe some of our listeners out there aren't that way, but I grew up where it's like, I hate the notion of do as I say, not as I do. Like, be the example. Like, I want to embody the things, for strength coaches to listen to, but like, I want my kids to see me doing the right thing. And like, you should be eating in your own restaurant, as William Whalen said. Like, if you're not training and you're that skinny chef, like, either you have a really fast metabolism, or like, I don't think you know what good food tastes like.
Do you feel like the field is going a little bit further to the side that you're saying, where a lot of people aren't really starting to, or the field is starting to see where strength and conditioning coaches are not being as involved in what they're doing? They're not staying dedicated to a lifting plan, whatever it may be.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. I feel like people, they get too caught up with this word busy. And I absolutely hate the word busy. Like, if how was you, like, when you, I hate how you been, man, I'm in the weeds, right? Like, I'm working a lot, but I'll tell you what, like, I stop work the minute it's 3 o'clock because I got to go get my kids, which is why I wake up at 4, right? I'm doing lots of things, but I need to be productive with my time. And I say all of that because the number of coaches that I've worked with or seen just in their normal, they waste time, whether it's scrolling on their phone or just chit chatting with a coworker, when it's like, if you need that like therapy to just talk to somebody, like, go talk to a therapist, find like a specific time, or understand that you're taking your time away from work. Go have that therapeutic session or whatever you need with somebody outside of work hours. Be so obsessed during your work time. Golly, Matt, over at Michigan basketball, when I had him on the show, he was talking. He's like, when I'm at work, let me work. Shut up, leave me alone. Let me work. Let me do my job. When I'm off work, I'm off and I'm done. Hewitt, from Team Builder, he just posted something on LinkedIn the other day, like, during your 40 hours, like, I don't think people understand how much 40 hours actually is. When you can hyper focus and get your, like, you should be exhausted by the end of your 40-hour week, instead of just like, oh, I'm punching my clock and, oh, I'm here. Like, how intentional and obsessed are you in your 40 minutes of work to get the thing done? And I just don't see that. I don't see enough people being obsessive. And I used to hear somebody, oh, well, I was just so busy. Yo, when I hear you say the word I was busy, or like, what you're not saying is you're not important, or I have more things going on than you. And I'm like, I got a kid, I got a wife, I have more athletes to train than you, and yet you can't get it done. Like, but strength and conditioning as a whole just needs to get cleaned up in terms of like understanding hours worked on a project doesn't make it better. It just means it took you longer. And in the business world, even like my dad, who's a grocery store manager, if any of his front end managers who were stocking things like, oh, Lino, it took me 12 hours to get the produce stocked. And be like, bro, why? Like, well, we worked really hard on it. Well, he'd be like, work more efficiently. Like, it doesn't mean it's not work hard, or like work as hard as you can to get the task done as fast as you can, and then move on to the next, instead of this, well, I'm just going to take forever to do it. No, man, get the job done and move on and get the next job done. Go be great.
Yeah, it really makes me think of, I've mentioned this book many times on this podcast, but Deep Work by Cal Newport. And I mean, I love that book. And it was kind of life changing for me because I was the exact strength coach that you are detailing previously, prior to reading this book, because I would say, I'm just busy all the time. I'm working in season. I'm working for 70 hours per week, which was highly incorrect, because a lot of that time, like you said, was either on social media. I'd stop by and hang out with the coaches for an hour, whatever it may be. There was a lot of time wasted. And then I read that book, and all of a sudden I figured out, okay, well, what I thought was necessary for, 50 hours was necessary to complete this work, I could really get that done in 15. And then I could spend the other time on things that, like continuing education, or actually working out, because my GA and I, whenever we talk about, did you train today? It wasn't like, oh, I was too busy to train. It was, I literally would say like, oh, I was too lazy. Like, I'll be honest, like, let's just call it what it is. Like, I was lazy. I recall, like, I was low T today, so I didn't end up doing it. Like, there wasn't like, there's no excuses to it, because there's really always time to work things in that are valuable to you. It just depends if it's valuable or not.
And I used to say that to the players. Like, I'd kind of mess with them and be like, "Oh, coach, hey, did you go to do that? Hey, oh no, I didn't." I was like, "All right, hey, who's the finest girl right now? What, like, you know what I mean? Like," and I was trying to get their attention. "Oh, it was so and so." Okay, cool. If she said you could go to dinner with her if you got the job done, you'd probably get it done, wouldn't you? So like, I just don't want to hear it.
Yeah, and then again, it's excuses, and it's not cutting down to the real issue of it, which I agree, and I appreciate you being candid about it. One of the things that I was curious about is, I feel like through your social media and just seeing what you present a lot, and I promise you we'll get back to Strength Coach Network at some point. I just love the conversation and how it's going. You are very candid and you're open with your opinions. What allows you to do that? Because I think a lot of strength coaches are hesitant about opinions or hurting feelings of other coaches, or worried about what sport coaches might think. What goes into your process of just being open and candid with what you say?
Being obsessed with doing what's right,
There
and
you
like
go.
just and really trying to do it. I'm not trying to. This is gonna sound like, I don't want to offend people, in the sense of like, I'm going to be rude to you and call you a name. Like, I'm going to make fun of you, Connor, and I'm going to degrade you. Like, that's a problem. But I mean, it's right here. I had this from when we were at Iowa. Anybody that might not be reading it, it says you're either coaching it or you're allowing it to happen. So that's what we had at Iowa. Like, we're either coaching these kids to do the thing, or we're allowing it to happen. So we can either sit back and act like there's not a bunch of fraudulent bad things happening in strength and conditioning or whatever, or we can actually say and have an opinion and speak on these things, but doing it in a way to move the needle forward. So to, again, quote Kier, his Kier Whittam flat ratio was, if your complaints to suggestions ratio is greater than one, you're an oxygen thief. So that means if you're complaining about this, you're complaining like, and I've got 4 complaints and I have 1 solution, I got a 4-1. My number's a 4. I'm an oxygen thief. If I have 4 complaints and 3 suggestions, still an oxygen thief. But if I find 4 things that are wrong and I say these are 4 ways to fix it, I'm there. I'm helping. I'm actually positively contributing. So that's why. And it also comes from my family. Like my dad, the way that he was raised, like my dad has no college degrees. My father he moved over here from the Azores, which are the islands outside of Portugal. So like, I also have all that context of like, we could go real deep and dive into other spiritualness of it, but like my father came from the island outside of the Portugal, the Azores. His father, my grandfather, and my grandmother moved their kids from the Azores to Massachusetts when my dad was out 8, 9, 10, right around there. So I have, family that was like, we're going to move and get a better life because we want to do what's best for our kids. So I have that strength inside of me. Like I have that blood flowing through me. But then also my dad graduated high school, had a job working through high school, played some sports, he's not as big as me. I'm 6'3", 260. I was 300-pound offensive lineman. Mom was tall. Dad's not. Dad played soccer. Was in the chess club, but he liked to work and he was good at working. He was a bag boy and he graduated high school. It was like, I'm done going. I don't want to go to college because where he was from, you were done going to school after fourth grade. Like it was after fourth grade, you're working on the farm, you're working in the house like that was just what it was. So he was used to working and just worked his way up. Like, hey, I'm good at this. Like, oh, I see what my boss is doing. I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. And then when he started to be in positions of leadership, he would just tell them like, listen, you're not paying me to just sit back and be idle. Like you're paying me to help move the needle and do things forward. So I've got that. But then also when I worked at Iowa, one of the best things about Doyle was he did say he never wanted yes men, and he didn't. There were some times in staff meetings where I would be like, coach, this is wrong. And Joel would be like, listen, bro, like you have to let him fail and realize that the suggestion that you or any of us made is wrong. He'll then on the floor or on the field tell us that, he's going to change it to something that you said, but he has to think it's his opinion. I'm like, oh, whatever, fine. That didn't happen all the time. It happened occasionally, but he did encourage us to disagree behind closed doors. So at the end of the day, when we'd leave, we'd be a unified front. Well, right now on social media, we don't have the ability, like, yes, inside Strength Coach Network, I share education with our members to try to help them improve, but I'm just so obsessed with being right and doing right for our athletes and just all the, I see the repercussions of things. If you're not training your athletes properly, the ramifications that can happen where sport coaches aren't happy, people can lose their job, fans don't get to watch a good product. Like I'm just so obsessed with the whole product that I want to see what's good. But I do also have the ability of now being detached where I don't work for a university that's like, oh, Justin, shut your mouth on this. But I don't go sticking my head out on things that don't really matter. Like I'll talk about, actual strength and conditioning things.
Yeah, it's not rage baiting. It's
It's
just,
not rage baiting,
stuff
and I'm
that
not
makes,
I'm staying in my lane. I'm not like, oh, as strength coaches, let's talk. Like, no, like we're going to talk about strength and conditioning matters.
well, you mentioned the spiritual aspect. Can you tell me more about that? I'm interested.
Well, like, I mean, for like, we have the same spirit of the same spirit of Christ, the same spirit of God that lives in us and dwells in us inside the Holy Spirit. Like, so why should I be timid? And like, that took me a really long time to dive into my Christianity and to dive into understanding like, hey, the same dwelling, the same tabernacle that God used to dwell in that tabernacle was, we were told when Jesus descended and came and rose, and when he left his disciples, he was like, hey, I'm sending you the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit's inside you. So the same power that raised Christ from the dead lives in me and lives in all of us. Like, why am I like, come on now? Like, I can't be timid. I have to go out and just be an obedient servant and do what I'm called to do.
So having that ultimate purpose helps drive your career even further.
1,000%. And now I
Mm.
didn't really dive in, like, I didn't talk about that in terms of like, hey, first and foremost, I'm a child of God, then I'm a husband, then I'm a father, then I'm a coach. I never felt comfortable to do that at my public institutions. And I also I didn't dive into, I didn't have as good of an education, just like most things. When people don't understand things and they're not educated on a topic, they're not going to really talk about it as much. So shame on me for not doing more within my own faith. But I was raised Catholic, where in the Catholic, anybody who's listening to Catholicism, typically it's like, you don't read the Bible. You're too big of a sinner to even touch the thing. So once I started to actually dive into my faith and understand it better, I understood. And that was, life-changing for me with respect to that. But I would always tell recruits, hey, I'm a husband, I'm a father, and then I'm a coach. And when you do it in that order, it doesn't mean that you're not as important, but it means that I'm actually able to be a better coach to you because I've taken care of all other aspects of my life.
Mm. Yeah, being raised Catholic, I can tell you I really know the difference between half kneeling and kneeling.
right?
Yeah.
And making sure your butt's not back on the pew. Like,
Oh,
get up, boy.
exactly. Trust me. Yeah, that's not happening. I promise you that.
Like, but Uncle Joe's got his butt backwards on the bench. Let me get my butt on the pew. Like,
Not for you, young man. So,
exactly.
well, I love that perspective, and I guess it kind of brings me to my next question a little bit too. Like, one of the things you've always mentioned and brought up in your social media posts is something like GOTA. What are the ethical challenges with using an athlete's injury to help promote your product or sell what you're trying to sell?
That's so fraudulent. Like, and to not only not have like any of those people, anybody that doesn't, there's no repercussion to saying anything fraudulent or wild. Like, shame on them for saying it, but like, there's like what they're going to like, they can get away with it. So it'd be lovely if there's a way to like actually handle that. But just the fact that you can say these words that have no repercussion or no, like, oh, well, if so and so would have done this, there's no way to refute it. There's no way to prove that it's actually correct. So why are you saying this? And not to mention the fact that you've got this person. Let's use the Tyrese Halliburton example. Indiana Pacers lose game 7 of being world champs. Their best player goes down and is now going to be out likely the entire next year. And you're going to be kicking them when they're down saying, well, if you would have hired me, I wouldn't have let this happen. Child, please, to quote Chad Ochocinco, the number of things that go into an injury, not to mention the fact that life and everything, it's a matrix. You have a good mover, weak, bad mover. Like, so there's going to be people, the number of people that have WODA or whatever these awful movement patterns that don't get hurt. It's the logical of black, all swans are black. The minute you see a white swan, your statement, all swans are black, is wrong. You cannot go about saying it. So when you've got these GOTA folks being like, oh, well, look at Josh Allen and his feet. If he could only get his feet straight, imagine how much better he'd be. Like, you're so full of it. It's coming out of your face because, okay, the guy's never had any soft tissue injuries. So how are you going to make him? He's never had a soft tissue injury. Now you're going to say that he'll be, how do you get better than never having a soft tissue injury? How do you get better than being an MVP count, like getting paid as much as you get paid? Like, it goes back to the fact that, who was it? Golly, Scott Sinclair. No, Scott Cochran. You're a Bentley. I'm just putting spinners on you. That's the reality. That's what we are. Right? We're a good insurance policy to keep things up and running and tinkering. Sure, there's biomechanical things that we have to make sure that we're keeping within the range of good, proper movement. And yes, training the foot is important, but that's not going GOTA. Making sure that we deload the spine at certain times and deload the body, that's important. That's not going GOTA. Breathing exercises and properly breathing when you're training, that's not going GOTA either. But they just come up with these absolutes. And then, like, I learned about these people, the functional range, not FRC, not functional range condition, but like functional movements. I looked them up, and like they're the, like, squatting's never enough, deadlifting's never enough, sprinting, like, unless you're doing functional condition, like, these just fraudulent charlatans that just make up these claims. And it's like, I hate it. You can hear it in my voice. I hate it because it's just so, it violates the said principle. Like, I'm sorry, but the said principle still remains true. You want to get better at something, do that thing.
So do you think these things and these training styles come about just as a way to make money because they speak in absolutes? So
Yes.
It's a little bit
and
easier.
People are easily, like, you and I both know this. We as humans, we crave simplicity, right? We crave homeostasis to stay alive. And it's like, wait a minute. There's a reason that the 30-second, 60-second ab, or the 6-minute ab routine, or the put this on your ab and it'll shock your belly to give you abs. And it's like, that person on that video who's got a 6-pack did not only do that, but legally they're allowed to say it. And everybody's looking for the shortcut magic pill. There isn't one, but that doesn't sell. That's like, Jocko got good at getting people to kind of understand discipline equals freedom and get rid of motivation and like get rid of how you feel. But what doesn't sell is, hey, you're not going to feel like it today. You're not going to want to train. You're not going to, but to avoid to avoid that, you got to have to go and do the suck. You're probably not going to want to do it. So you're going to have to go through the motion some of the time. You're going to feel great some days. You're going to feel like shit some days. But somewhere in the middle, you just have to keep training. And day after day, time after time, you will get where you want to go if you don't train based off of your emotions. That ain't sexy. What's sexy is stop all the other BS and put this on your ab and make it shock. Or, hey, your strength coach got you hurt. Oh, wait a minute. I got hurt. You know what? Maybe he did. Yeah, he's not doing this. So that's why you should have gotten hurt. And it's like when you get these older athletes that have trained for a really long time and maybe their nervous system is fried because of all the things that's going on, and you allow the nervous system to just relax and breathe by doing no bar on your back, not getting like, sure, you'll feel good for a period of time, but if you're not stressing the athlete with enough adaptation to get him better, you're not going to actually get better. Not to mention the fact that there's been go-to people that get hurt. There's been Joel Seedman people, like one of the best posts was after Seedman tried coming after Ben Bruno, which I love Ben Bruno. I've talked to Ben before, but why don't like the Pacers strength staff, how come they weren't being talked about how good of a job they did preparing their athletes? Side note. So yeah, Seedman's going after Ben Bruno, which in Seedman's thing, he's like, train barefoot. In 4 of the 7 videos, the dude is training barefoot. Idiot. But some guy was like, oh, Joel, we're going to start blaming people. We're going to blame people for their injuries. And like, he's like, pretty sure you trained this guy, injured. Pretty sure you trained this guy, injured. And it's just like, it's so wrong, because that's why I hate the word injury prevention. We can't prevent it, Connor. We can't. It just can't happen. And if you start thinking like legal terms, insurance, and you think like, oh, I'm going to prevent injury for you, Connor. Oh, sweet. Where Justin's going to prevent it. Somebody gets hurt. Hey, Justin, I thought you were going to prevent that. Like, fraudulent.
And that's just such a challenge with strength and conditioning too, because you can never prove that you prevented an injury either. There's no. Yeah, there's no way.
Bob Alejo's episode with us came out last Friday, bonus episode. He's like, listen, if you can prevent it, you can predict it. You need to be real careful at not patting yourself on the back. Like I've said this before, I've gone on record and I'm going to say it again. The Philadelphia Eagles athletic training staff and strength staff, y'all put a giant target on your back. Oh, had 21 out of 22 starters. Where this, where that. And it's like, Lord forbid y'all start getting hurt, because the minute you want to start taking the credit, you better be willing to start taking the blame. And that's a real dangerous spot to be, because if you want all the glory, you better be willing to take all the blame.
Yeah, it's like my experience in women's basketball. For some reason, there's always this conversation about not being in enough shape, right? And I remember,
soccer too.
Yeah, yep, and exactly. And I remember we played a game where we were down 20 in the fourth quarter, and we ended up coming back and winning. And it was a great game. And they were like, Connor, it's all because of you, because of the conditioning stuff that we did. And I was like, no, it was not. No, it was not. Because I knew 3 weeks later we played a game and we were tired because it was our 4th game in like 10 days or whatever. It was this crazy stretch. And they're like, our conditioning sucks, And I was like, well, I didn't take credit, so you can't blame me now.
Well, it's just so sick. The minute like a win versus a loss can change everything. Right?
Two points, 1 point could be the difference between having a great weekend or having the worst weekend of your life.
And like you said, Andy Ryland said this one time too, talking about like the fourth quarter comeback or figuring out your halftime adjustment. Like maybe it wasn't necessarily like, oh, I wore you out, but I got now enough exposures against you. So if I'm a D lineman and you're an O lineman, and I'm pass rushing, I actually understand how you're pass blocking me better, so I can set you up better to get to the quarterback. Or if we're playing basketball, I understand what's going on. I schematically know you better, and now I can attack you. Yes, having a good, being strong and being in shape will help. Like it's not unimportant. But Bill Gillespie, when we were on a flight together, talked about the fact he's like, when I was at Washington, he's like, I had to tell the coaches, like, listen, coach, if you're not bringing me good athletes that are good at their sport, I can get them bigger and stronger and more powerful. They're just going to be bigger, stronger, and more powerful and bad at their sport. And like the coach kind of paused. He goes, I told him, I go, bring me a bowler. If you bring me somebody that's an awful bowler, skill-wise, they can't bowl, but I get them bigger, stronger, faster, better shape, they're still going to be a bad bowler. They're just going to be able to bowl bad longer. So like I say that to the strength coaches listening, you have to have good technical people that play their sport. Yes, try hard. Yes, get them stronger. Yes, get them faster. Yes, get them in better shape. That's our job. That will help them be able to do their task at practice longer. But if you get me to go run routes against elite DB, I work really hard. I'm in pretty good shape for a big guy. But I ain't getting separation. Like, it's just not happening.
Yeah, I like to tell our interns all the time that the best strength coach on staff is actually your recruiting coordinator.
Joe Ken, his episode is getting dropped in about 4 hours today. In his episode, that's what he said. He's like, "You want to be a good strength coach? Be real good friends with the recruiting coordinator."
Exactly. But we have guys, we had a freshman come in, he's up 30 pounds in I think it's 12 weeks, which I'm a little concerned with. I don't love that much of a weight gain, but he was severely undersized. And, everybody's like, Connor, great job. And I was like, no, you guys just got me a guy who's got really good genetics, can put on weight well, and happened to be super undersized, and is going to be a freak, and he's really skilled. So that's why he looks good right now.
Well, to that point, one time I'm in a staff meeting at Towson, and they were talking about bringing this kid in who was like, this is where you can be. It goes both ways. I think I'm good at my job. I'm not here to say that I don't, but I also understand my importance and that I'm literally just one sliver of the pie, which is why I love the 4 coactive model and understanding it, because it helps you understand why people win and how they understand that stuff. I had the head coach was like hearing about all these injuries or this person. He's like, well, that's why I got him. He's going to take care of it. And it's like, you give me a bag of milk, it's still a bag of milk. Like, what? Come on. Like, there's only so much I can do, especially in certain time limits of like, I mean, not to mention the fact that you can't, like, if a kid isn't going to eat and sleep and take care of their body, and it's not a cop out. Yes, you can educate them and give them all the things, but at the end of the day, you have to connect to the person to get them to want to do the thing. Just like I'm looking at a Baltimore Sun article here from a kid, Jesus Gibbs, came back from a torn Achilles, 7 months, tore his Achilles in October. By the end of spring ball, April, May, he was cleared to play. Did Kyle and I have a positive impact on Jesus's return to play? 1,000%. I keep it there to remind me when I work really well with my AT and you work really well with the athlete, great things are possible. But this kid also bought into it. He allowed himself to be depressed for the first month. Feel your feelings. Don't hide, don't suppress your feelings. That's something that most people don't understand about stoicism. Stoics were never like, don't feel your feelings. No, feel it, understand it, recognize it, and move on from it, and don't let it dictate the rest of your life. So he was miserable for a little bit, and then he's like, all right, I've been sad about it. I've experienced the emotion. Let's move forward. And he was the one that was putting in the work. Yes, there were days that he physically couldn't because he was sore and tired and we had to adapt and adjust, but it was the athlete that did the work. We just help guide them and keep them on the path.
Yeah, and again, it just goes back to, are you willing to accept credit for these things? Because ultimately, it's probably not 100% what you were involved with. It's definitely not 100% you. And so then that goes back to the same thing with GOTA, or like you say, with the functional range trainers, whatever they're speaking with, they take 100% of the credit. And that's where you can know that what they're providing is essentially false, because at a base level, that's not correct. It all depends on the athlete and what they do and how they prepare on a daily basis.
Yeah. And like I said, we're just like the parents birthed and raised this kid. Like,
Yeah.
so most of us work, like any of us working in college athletics, we're not outdoing what mom and dad did for maybe 18 years, 20 years. Like, we're helping shape them. And yes, like to quote, Rob again from Towson, part of our job might be to kick the apple far from the tree if mom and dad didn't raise the son or daughter the right way and have some bad habits. But at the end of the day, like, we only have them for a short amount of time, and hopefully we can speed that up and have a great relationship with them. But mom and dad are the ones that instill these values, and coaches that place their value. But like, that goes back to, I don't place and I used to. And so that's why I'm talking to you straight. Like, if you place your value in anything other than being a loved child of God, you're going to come up short. If you place that stress on your spouse, that's not fair to them. That's not fair to your spouse. That's not fair to your kids. That's not fair to your job. So when you place your value in that, you're going to set yourself up for failure, because all of it can get taken away from you in the blink of an eye.
How did you recognize that? Because it's a very profound statement, and I agree wholeheartedly, but it's tough to come to that realization.
Getting alone by myself, going through valleys myself, like literally losing my job at Towson when I didn't think I was going to. I was told, like, my wife and I left Iowa. She was 7 months pregnant when we left Iowa. Near her, this is where she grew up. She was a Hawkeye. Like, I'm living life. I'm right hand man, like doing tons of things at Iowa, but I get an opportunity to run things, do it my own way. And we were told you're not hired. Like we knew at Iowa, hey, we win, we get more money, we lose, we're getting fired. Cool. We're cool. We understood the rules of engagement. So when I go to Towson, it's hey, you're not hired by the head football coach. You work with other teams. You're not going to get let go if the head football coach gets fired. So that's what we thought were the rules of engagement. And then to get let go out of the thin air on a random Thursday during spring break, like that was like holy, like I had placed so much of my value in like, yeah, I'm a good strength coach, yeah, I'm this. And so hitting that rock bottom, and then that was one of them, but then also fully diving into my faith, reading the whole Bible in a year in 2023, that really helped me. And then all the podcasts that our church did every Wednesday to support the readings, and then the sermons on Sundays, and just like actually reading and understanding like what this book of ultimate truth says, and being like, holy cow, yeah, that's right. But I mean, hard head makes a soft ass, and we plant the seeds, God grows them, right? Like the fertile ground, and where's it going to grow? And for a while, I hadn't. But it's just like anything else. It's uncomfortable to kind of hear the truth. My kids don't want me to tell them the truth, even though it's the truth. I have to tell them truth in love. But yeah,
Well, I really appreciate you recognizing that and sharing your story on that front, because I feel like that's where a lot of strength coaches become unhappy, is they place value in their career, they place value in who they are. One of my main mentors at Tennessee would always call it the slaying dragons, right? Of just trying to be the number one power four strength coach, the highest paid, whatever it may be, when ultimately there's a bigger purpose behind what you do.
yeah. I mean, and like I said, listen, I'm not like we're all we're all sinners in need of saviors. I'm not just saying, like, I truly believe I've been there. As somebody that was on that path. And like to me, I left Iowa because yes, I was an assistant, and here's an opportunity for me to go be a head guy at Towson, and then I can jump and go to the next thing. And we go back to the playoffs in 2018, and my name's being thrown around by Randy Etzel. So I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling good about myself. But then I started to fall in love with being at Towson. I really did. And like, was it perfect? No, but we made it perfect where we were. And I got to collaborate with Kyle at a high level. We're playing, beating top 20 teams every year, getting back to the playoffs, being competitive with FBS teams. Like, and I was realizing that I could pour into kids, and instead of just jumping ship to go to the next one, I'm seeing a kid develop from year 1 to year 4, or even 2 like, and you see the progress that a kid can make, and you're like, holy cow, there is so much more to this. And I can impact these kids so much more than just, it's the book Transactional versus Transformational, any of that stuff, right? Like, and I got to actually see it, and it was like, oh, this is so much better than just going and chasing that next logo or the next paycheck, which is why, again, Kier, his 4 Ps, your progression, pay, purpose, and personal life. That's how you need to assess a job. So yes, how much do you get paid? If what's your career progression? Have you gone from assistants to head? Are you climbing and moving that way? Personal life. Do you have a personal life, or are you guarding your desk all the time? And then sense of greater purpose. Are you actually a cog in the wheel, moving things forward and doing things, or you just have to keep your mouth shut, do what the person ahead of you says to do? And if you've got all 4 of 4, you don't leave unless there's a better 4 of 4. They fire you or you retire. If you got 3 of 4, you really only leave unless you can get 4 of 4, or you can flip the 3 of 4 and it gets better somewhere else. 2 of 4, actively look for a new job. 1 of 4, what are you doing? And so I say all of that because if you're chasing a paycheck, you get paid a lot, you now have golden handcuffs, your pay's great, but you have no personal life, you're not seeing your family, you have no career progression because you have no upward mobility, and you don't feel like you're a part of something bigger than yourself, now you're miserable. Sure, you got a paycheck, but are you actually able to have time to see your kids, see your spouse, and then be a positive member of society? Like me now being here and working at the gym Goldfinch, like even just yesterday, I saw somebody from the gym when I was with my boys going and grabbing something at Kohl's. Like, saw hi to her, and she like, great to even just be able to do something like that, or being a positive member of the community instead of just stuck in your gym. Like, golly, there's so much that you can pour into, and you literally will become a better coach for it.
I love the term golden handcuffs because, I mean, truly, that's been one of my concerns about when other job opportunities have come up, and people have previously said to me candidly, like, "Oh, you hitched your wagon to a great coach. Like he's doing a really good job. He'll get hired at a Power Four school soon, whatever it may be." Right. And what I like about him is we've had success. I know he's had other opportunities, but he loves it here and he loves what we're able to do. And I think we're meeting all four of those P's. And so he's happy. And it's no need to just jump ship just to go get higher pay. And then now all of a sudden you're stuck with that. And there's also a lot of other challenges that come with the higher pay too. There's a lot, the higher you get paid, a lot easier it is for you to get fired too.
So analogy of that, and let's talk investing, let's talk finances, because we've talked about that. Anyway, we talk about that at Strength Coach Network because I preface it with do your own research. This is not financial advice. You can't take this to a lawyer. Go talk to your own financial advisor. But we need to be talking about our finances to be able to help understand them and pay bills. Period. NIL world. If you go chase that bag, and let's say American football. Let's say you go to Ohio State or any of these schools that are paying out and they're paying tons of money. Well, remember, there's no contract. They don't contractually owe you anything. So you could go there, you could not perform, and then they'll cut you. And now you've lost the bag. And maybe you got 1 year of your $5 million that they said. So maybe you get 1.5. That's still a lot of life-changing money. I'm not here to say it wasn't. Versus you go somewhere where they're only going to offer you 3 mil over the course of your time there, but you've got a longer leash. They trust you more. They'll be with you through the ups and downs. You're there the whole time. Like this kid, the kid from Tennessee that just transferred to UCLA. Like his stock has so dropped. Like UCLA is probably going to move on from him. Nobody's going to be paying him, and he could have just kept his mouth shut, stayed at Tennessee, and earned more money. And so the same thing happens. Like you go and you chase that better job, unless it's generational, life-changing money, like $1 million a year for a strength coach. Like, but we're not going to get paid that. Versus now, you look at what Kirk Ferentz did around here at Iowa. There was head coaches, or there was GMs from the NFL calling him back in 02, 03, 04. He stayed. Look how he was able to raise all his kids in the same high school. Matt Campbell, when he came here, there were people calling to try to get him hired out of Ames, but he's like, hey, where can I put, like, this, how much dollars does it cost or is it earned when like I know the school that my kids are going to go to. I know that my wife can sleep at night knowing that I'm not going to get fired and she can be okay. What's the monetary value that my kids just walked to school 800 meters away from school? I don't know, but it's pretty darn high.
Yeah, it would take a lot to change what you have, and sometimes it would. I mean, there wouldn't be anything to be able to change it. It's just a great situation for you and your family. So why jinx it? Why make these sweeping changes for ultimately no reason?
Correct.
Yeah. Well, Strength Coach Network, like you said, you talk about a lot of different things. Can you just explain to our listeners what Strength Coach Network is? What are the different branches of it? Because I know you have the online education, the podcast. Can you just describe it to us, please?
Yeah. So we are able to help you earn your CEUs while staying in your office. So that way you don't have to worry about traveling to conferences. They're expensive. They take up a lot of time. And I want you to be able to actually have that time back, or I want you to be able to go and visit staffs, but you can't do that because you don't earn CEUs when you go and visit somebody. I'd learn a ton from being on the floor, watching you train athletes, but I'm not going to earn any CEUs. And then I'd have to go spend that going to other conferences. Get Strength Coach Network. We're able to help you save money, save time on your CEU so you keep your cert. Our main thing that we have is we have a membership webinar library. So we've got 182 webinars on every topic and every sport that you could think of. Inside that, there's also a forum where you can learn about job postings. You can upload your resume. You can talk with members across the country and across the world. And with those job postings, it's like, hey, I know so-and-so who's hiring. Let me help you fix your resume. Let me recommend you and bring you to the front of the line, because it's all about networking and connections. So that's the main thing that we have, is that annual membership, that monthly membership, however you want to get inside. But those are webinars taught by the best coaches in the world. Like I said, Alex and Tara, Dan Paff, Buddy Morris, whatever topic you want to learn about, don't do it by yourself. Then we have these long form courses. So think about the membership kind of like going to an all you can eat buffet. Hey, I want some of this. I want some of this. I want some of this. We have courses now where it's like, hey, you're going to go sit down at a restaurant and this is the menu that we're serving you tonight. So there's a course on ACL rehab, and it's sure whatever sport you work with, but this is criteria based instead of timeline based. early stage, mid stage, late stage, return to play, taught to you by a coach that still works with athletes and has an academic background. ACL course. Coach Bondarchuk's course. If you need to understand about transfer of training, understand about periodization of exercises and what we do in the weight room and how it transfers out onto the field, hey, Bondarchuk and his periodization model is still used today. It's one of the best. He was a great coach, but he was also a great athlete himself. Go learn in the course from Strength Coach Network by somebody that worked under Coach Bondarchuk. Our two long form courses, fundamentals 1 and 2, those are specific, there's different categories. We're going to talk about speed, power development, nutrition, all of them, but it's guided. It's that guided path rather than like, oh, I want to learn about baseball. Cool. We're not going to talk about only baseball in fundamentals, but we're going to talk about rotational power. We'll talk about hypertrophy, and then you're going to learn to apply those principles to the situation you work in. We have the new sprint biomechanics course. So that Jeff Moyer literally talking about, hey, what's the history of, biomechanics? What's the history of sprinting and how people have, looked at it and it's evolved over time? How to develop your coaching eye? What is the different key movements in sprinting, and then how we can actually help athletes improve? And then finally, we have Matt Jordan's force plate course. So tons of ways for you to learn and learn from the comfort of your office without having to travel. Now you can spend the rest of your budget on visiting staffs, getting more equipment, and you don't get tied up in travel and you don't get caught up with a lot of expensive fees.
Yeah, and one of my main gripes with conferences too is that when I go there, I'm going to see a lot of my friends, and the last thing I'm going to want to do is now go to presentations. I'm going to want to hang out with my friends.
And so, like, I went to a conference not too long ago where there was less than depending on where you go, the topics might not be relevant to you at all.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all. And it's like, and it's also these pristine, manicured, like, oh, well, and it's like, do you really that's not as clean as it is when we're in the weight room? Like, that's not real. I want to see real. I don't want to see manicured fake. Like, what is real? And you don't always get those at those conferences. And like I said, maybe some of them you don't get as many CEUs, like your dollar per CEU. I mean, because at the end of the day, there's reasons that I have certain organizations, professional organizations, being like, hey, we need memberships because we're coming close to the deadline. We literally are working during this conference and during this conference. We can't travel. Like, we can't leave our athletes because we're paid to train athletes. The conferences are held and we're supposed to train athletes. Can you help us out? And it's like, yes, absolutely. That's what, like, I've been in those shoes at Iowa. We're working in January all the way until the end of May, right? At Taos, like, there's certain times that you have to be training the athletes. And it's like, all right, why don't you then learn on your own dime at your own time?
And so these are CEUs for CSCCA and NSCA?
So especially those coaches that are dual certified. So it's like, hey, you don't have to go spend money to go to this one and that one. We'll be able to help you out with both.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that. And I know it's tough to go through that CEU approval process. So
yeah,
kudos
it
to
is.
you.
It is. And I also then I help out by serving on some boards that help try to push the field forward in that too. It's like, all right, I not only have Strength Coach Network, but I'll be in some executive, council meetings on some different professional development groups or some board groups or some, behind the scenes to help those organizations as best as I can too, because it's like, all right, let me use my brain to help the field as best as I can. That's why I wrote the textbook that should be coming out here pretty soon, because I got the manuscript done, the publisher, Cognella. So shout out to them for, doing this with me. And I'm excited about that book. The manuscript's done. They have it. I was going through all the legal process of, giving names of people that are in photos or who took a photo of me on the sideline to be able to use that. You have to go through all the legal permissions and all that stuff. So they're going through that. I sent them all that information. The book's called Navigating a Career in Strength and Conditioning, and it's to help you grow, a field manual to go from intern to industry leader, because we know that that's that climbing of a ladder. But I didn't say head strength coach, because as an industry leader, you could be in tactical, you could be working in research, you could be working in the Olympic side, you could be working in the private sector. There's all these different branches of strength and conditioning that too many young students don't learn because it's not taught. Because getting back to the point, you've got professors that have never worked in any of these domains trying to educate you on it.
Yeah. You know, I remember a lot of the advice I got when looking for my first strength and conditioning job, not from my mentors or people I was working with, but professors, was just apply, see if they read your application. And it's like, well, it didn't work out so well,
Dude, you're not getting your job from a random job post or a resume. You're getting it
Yes.
from relationships, and like that relationship will get you in the door, but then what you know will keep you there.
Hmm. Okay. So my final question for you, you bring me back to my days of being raised Catholic and a lot of good memories I have and some great songs. Are you a Mary Did You Know or Awesome God kind of guy? What would you have to pick?
Oh, and I'll play the Phil Wickham Awesome God remix. Our God is it awesome God? Like that remix that he did. I got goosebumps right now.
Yep.
Banger. Just
Yep.
when he remade it. Are you kidding me?
Oh, it was
Fire.
awesome.
I'm gonna be
And then we
playing like
got
now. I'm
to
gonna play it loud on my speaker the minute you're done.
we would do at growing in our high school, we'd do mass at least once a month as a high school together, and they get everybody clapping together and everything. It was, I mean, it was a great time. We loved it.
Brother, oh my, anybody listening, if your church has a worship night, like shout out Lutheran Church of Hope in West Des Moines, like those worship nights, like oh my gosh, like
They're
worship music,
fun.
bro. I'm set PRs of worship music. What are you talking about? Don't get it twisted now.
Some of our best days in the weight room are when we play Kirk Franklin. All the guys love it.
Brother.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Justin, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. If somebody wanted to explore Strength Coach Network more, what would be the best way to do that?
Strengthcoachnetwork.com is our website where you can learn about the membership, all the courses that we have to offer. Like you said, there's free resources. So the blog, the YouTube channel, podcast, it's all there. We've got free documents, how to create a budget for yourself, how to like literally whatever you can think about, how to Z-score your athletes to be able to give test data to your coaches. It's all right there. We're on all social media channels. If you just Google Strength Coach Network if you search it on X, Instagram, Facebook, we're there. We're not on TikTok. I don't do TikTok. I'm not ticking and talking, but otherwise we're everywhere else.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Justin. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Connor. It was a blast.
Absolutely.